Another edition of Riding Home here on Dog Post. I'm joined by Ty Frix, former Georgia football player. And are you done with medical school?
I finish up in May, so a few more months.
All right, we're going to talk football. And we're going to talk about some stuff that you and your brother Aaron Murray and Keith Marshall are all doing. That's a mouthful for me. What does Georgia need to do to get right for the Michigan game?
Coming from a long snapper,
I don't
foot,
care. If you're in the room, you're in the room.
well, when you're a long snapper, football gets simplified. It's doing the same thing every day, the same way. That's what makes a long snapper great, and I think that's what makes a football team great. And I think the biggest thing that they've got to do is put everything that's happened over the last few weeks behind them and get back to work the same way they've gotten to work every day this year. Do the same things they've done, do them just as good as they did the day before, and strive to do them better. Consistency is a jewel. That's what my coaches told me, and I think that still rings true today.
What was it like dealing with difficult or devastating losses? I talked earlier in the week with Aaron Murray. I talked with Keith about it too because of what y'all are doing with NFTs and the Players Lounge. And they were talking about. I asked Aaron specifically about the 2012 Carolina game. Go on the road, get smashed. Game was crazy, and then had to deal with the Gators at the end of the month. But in that time, you had an off week. You had to deal with Kentucky on the road, which is a snake pit. How did y'all correct? Because there was an issue in the Carolina game, and it just seemed like y'all couldn't do anything right. And all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, you're beating the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, I think for us at that point in time, on paper, we were one of the best teams in the country. And, one of the new things for that team is that we had not been that. If you look at, the previous few seasons, we had clawed our way back. And we had a very frank conversation the year before, 4 games in, about whether or not our coaches were going to continue to be our coaches. And you know what we did? We came out and we won 10 games straight. And we came out the next season and started doing the same thing. So, you get to a point where you look back and you realize that, wow, we really do have a great team. But there's a difference between having a great team and showing up every day being great. And I think that's what we had not done in 2012. We walked into South Carolina, I think, as a superior team and got beat on every side of the ball. Special teams, offense, defense, etc. And you got to tip your hats to those guys because they just beat us. But at the same time, you realize that in order to be great as a football team, you can't be great on paper. You can't be great on some Saturdays. You got to be great in everything that you do all the time. To go back to the consistency thing, the teams that are great in everything they do, every time they do them, always. And I think that's what Georgia has done so far this year. We had that hiccup against Alabama and sort of got exposed in a couple places. But I have a lot of faith that Georgia's going to get right back to doing what they've done all year long leading into the Michigan game. And to answer your question, how do you deal with gut-wrenching losses? You get back at it.
Yeah. The strange thing about that particular game is that Georgia has been the most consistent team in the country in Power 5 football. And Alabama has been oddly up and down for them particularly. You never know when something regresses back to the mean, but a couple of weeks ago was not that. You talked earlier, Ty, about player meetings. Do those work, or can you, if you do too many of them, they have no real meaning, I think. But what was that? I mean, Jarvis Jones was a player in that 11 team. He always knew y'all were good. After the Carolina loss in 11, I remember thinking, Jarvis knows they're good. He knows something we don't. And over the next 20 games or whatever, Georgia lost, I think, 3 games or something like that. What do player meetings matter? Because they had those after the Alabama loss a couple weeks ago.
So I think it's really hard to say on the whole, player meetings mean this, because I think it's purely driven by the players that hold those meetings, right? It all has to do with the respect of the team. If you get somebody who you hold in a high regard, that you watched work for 5 years, in and out, through the thick and thin, through everything, and they get up there and they hold a player meeting, it means a lot, right? Because those are your brothers, and it's hard to understand that from the outside looking in. those men that you shower next to, that you practice next to, that you sweat and you bleed next to, those men are as close to brothers as you'll get. And for a lot of people, they're closer than brothers. I'm lucky to have the relationship with my brother that I do, but it's not everywhere. And so I think what's special with this team is that group of seniors and that group of leaders. Not only do they have the respect of the team, but they have the respect of the entire country, in my opinion. And there's some guys on those teams, on that team, that have been very vocal about the respect that they have toward their leaders. And that's not normal in every team. And I really think that's why Georgia has been so consistent this year, because you've got guys that you look up to and you say, I'm going to be great today because of him. And coaches drive a lot. Coaches don't drive that. It's hard to be consistent day in and day out and do what you have to do just because a coach tells you to. If you're going to be consistent like that, it's usually because you want to do it for the guy next to you.
Yeah, you want to do it. I mean, you have to want to do it. Some guy screaming at you or not is irrelevant. I mean, I did not play football at Georgia, but I played sports in college, and either you are disciplined enough to not go party the night before y'all have 5:45 runs, or you're not. And it does matter when certain guys talk, and when other guys do, this guy's a clown, right? And you know it. One thing though that you talked about earlier was you get to know these guys so well and so forth, and you and Keith and Aaron and your brother, they're all trying to give back in a way to the program at Georgia in a way that I think gives the public an opportunity to give back as well. Let's talk a little bit about the Players Lounge. I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, so I became a letterman 10 years ago. And what I realized is that as a letterman, we could do a much better job connecting with our current players. I was lucky. I grew up in it. My dad was a letterman, won a national championship at Georgia. So as a kid, I would come to games, go hang out at Letterman's Club, play football behind the stadium, and that was just normal to me. And now that I'm 10 years into this experience, I realize that's not normal. And we have guys that are 8 to 10 years out that were team captains that still don't really know all of the benefits for being a part of the Letterman's Club. And so for the last 10 years, I've tried to bridge the gap. And part of that was, we've run the Young Letterman Alumni Tailgate every year to give guys a place to come back and fellowship. And it's been awesome, but there's still work to do. There's still connections to be made. There's still a community to build. And the more I learn about the NFT world and the community that's there, the more convinced I am that it's the perfect technology to bridge the gap between the current players and us former players, as well as the fans, right? And look,
how are y'all going to do that? That's my question.
So in a couple ways, but first and foremost, by creating this community, this collaborative community. And that's important because this world is built, and I say this world, the NFT world, the crypto world is built to be decentralized. And one of the reasons it's so important for us to get into this world is because every big financial institution out there has gotten into it recently. Keith, my business partner, is at Emory doing an MBA right now, and he's taking classes on NFTs and crypto, and he's doing that because every big player has gotten into this space. Crypto was created, the blockchain explosion was created for the little guy, for the little gal. It was created to keep the big players out of the space. It was created for you and me. And what we want to do is go ahead and put our flag in the sand and create this collaborative community for our favorite fan base and for our favorite players to fellowship, to talk, and to build experiences before and without those big players jumping in and taking over the space. And I know there's hesitations. There's hesitations with any new technology. But what I can tell you is that this world is here. And it's up to us to decide the trajectory of how we're going to interface with it. Is it going to be through those big financial institutions, or is it going to be through a community, a collaborative community like the Players Lounge, which is what we're trying to build? And so what we want is we want these fans to jump on and join us and join our social media channels and join our Discord and help us understand what it is they want us to build. Because what we've done is we've built the team to do that. And so now we just need the fans to help point us in the right direction. And we have a couple great ideas, but we want to make sure that everything we're doing is in line with the experience that our patrons, the people we care the most about, are wanting.
I've talked with you about this a fair amount, and y'all are giving back 50% of the revenue to the school. But why, explain to people how this is not a scam, how this is on the up and up, et cetera.
Yeah. And so just to make a point, we're not giving back 50% to the school. We're giving back 50% to the current player
Thank
partners.
you.
That's a
Right.
big distinction. So we're not affiliated with the university. We work directly with the players. And so what we do is we have built a marketplace, and we're building a marketplace to bring in fans, to bring in former players, to bring in current players, and allow, like Keith said, the free market exchange to happen. With 50% of profits going directly back into the pockets of those player partners. And the big thing that this does is it puts the power of the booster in the hands of the everyday fan. This is going to be as good as we all want it to be. And more importantly, what this does is this sends a message to every young athlete out there that may be considering joining this family, that this is a family that takes care of their own, and this is the place that they want to be, because there's going to be a world after football. There's a world after all athletics. And the four of us are a testament to that. You know, my future was not near as bright as these guys was, but that's just a harsh reality. And what we're trying to do is build a space to facilitate those connections. What we want to do is we want to make sure that our players, when they're here, that they have the best opportunity they can to take advantage of any opportunity that presents itself. And we want our players, when they leave, to have a community that they can tie into to help them make the best that they can of the great degree that they got and go out and be a productive part of the community. And we want our fans to be a part of us on that journey. And I think that's what the Players Lounge does.
Everybody can click on the link below about the Players Lounge, but when is everything really going to start rolling with what y'all are offering?
So our website is live right now. It just went up today. We're going to be releasing drops of information over the coming weeks. And we have a list up on the website right now for a pre-sale for the first 500 people that subscribe. That pre-sale will be January the 7th. And then our public offering, our public sale will be on January the 9th, the day before the national championship game. And we're in Discord all the time. So if you go to our website, you can click join the Discord, and you can talk with us directly and help us build the experience you want us to build.
Ty, I appreciate everything y'all are doing, and I know people will hear more and more about this over time. Again, I would encourage everybody to click on the link below. If you're watching this, thanks for watching it. We'll see y'all over on the Players Lounge.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Thanks for everything you do for us.